All right, guys, today we're going to go over our final project of the year, and it's called the We Didn't Start the Fire project. Let me get into this. So for this assignment, like it says, Billy Joel's inspiration for We Didn't Start the Fire was the Cold War and events that took place during this time period in U.S. history. Joel was born in 1949, and when writing the song, he sat down, brainstormed, and wrote down all of the significant individuals, events, inventions, etc. that he could think of throughout his life. For this assignment, you will be using Billy Joel and We Didn't Start the Fire as your example and inspiration to create a slideshow of various events that occurred since you have been on this planet. The requirements. Your first step for this assignment will be to sit down and brainstorm as many people, events, inventions, etc. as possible that have been a part of U.S. history since you've been alive. Now, I know it says U.S. history, but you can also use global events. So, as you saw in that video, a lot of times U.S. history and global history sort of like coincide. So, try to do it sort of like we saw in the video there. You will be required to do a significant amount of research. You will also be able to use the miracle of technology to enhance your brainstorming abilities, aka Google. Things that you should include in your project are significant inventions, medical advancements, events, both U.S. and global, as I mentioned, and individuals, athletes, celebrities, world leaders, etc. So one thing I want to add in here is that, you could do an entire slideshow on just sports. I mean, there's plenty of sports events, the Super Bowl, the World Series, you name it, college football, whatever it is. There's a million things going on. Same thing could be said for celebrity, culture. There's always celebrities getting married, divorced, all those types of things. And, you could mention some of those things. But as you saw in the video, Billy Joel gave a variety of people and events, right? He didn't just focus on one aspect of history, and it wasn't just all political. It wasn't just all inventions. He used a little bit of everything because there's a lot of different significant events and, things of that nature all throughout history, even still today. So that's kind of what I want you guys to do, is sort of mix it up. You could mention some inventions or medical advancements. You might mention some major sports events like the winner of the Super Bowl, or something about Tom Brady setting the record for Super Bowl wins. And you might want to mention a world leader, like Trump's election or something like that. So, like I said, try to mix it up. Don't make it just one-dimensional. So you'll be graded in the following areas. Number 1, you must include a creative title for your project. This will be your title slide. Do not call it We Didn't Start the Fire project. Try to come up with something creative. It could be anything. I just don't want it to be a boring old like We Didn't Start the Fire project or final U.S. history project. I want it to be something creative like What a Crazy World We Live In, or something like that. Or history is insane. I don't know. It could be anything along those lines. You must include at least 30 items, which equates to approximately 2 per years of your life. Now, I know most of you are probably 16 by this point, but I kind of like that. 30 is a nice even number, which would be, if you're 15, that's 2 per year. With color, pictures in color in your project. So essentially, from the year you were born until now, it's, if you go 2 items per year. Now, again, if you're 16, you'd say, well, there'd be 32. Well, that's, you can still just do 30, just kind of narrow it down. You can cut up two events. So if you want to do 32, that's fine. Number 3, a written or typed date and definition of each event, at least 2 sentences per event. Be as specific as possible. What I mean by that is, if you mention COVID, which was a major event in our lives, COVID doesn't have a specific start and end date. It was more of a generalized, this year, this month, maybe over the next couple of years, and then it sort of fizzled out. You can't give a specific date. But if it's an event such as, Tom Brady won the Super Bowl, there's a specific date for that. So if there is a specific date, I want you to use it. And if it's more of a COVID type situation, you can use more of a general date. But be as specific as you can for the date. So neatness and effort, including lettering, color, etc., will be worth 10 points. For all these categories, there's a grand total of 80 points. And I will give you an example of what I'm looking for here in a second. Due date. This assignment will be due no later than 11:59 p.m. and I will give you the date in the near future. Usually when I start a project, I wait and see how well everybody's working before I start giving you a due date, because sometimes if people are wasting time, I may make it due tomorrow. But if you're working and I think you guys will stay on task in class, I might give you a couple days in class, but we're not going to work on it in class if nobody's working on it. I'll give you that in the near future. So you can turn it in earlier if you want, though. If you're highly motivated and you just want to get this done and you're ready for the school year to be over, you're going to hammer it out in a day or two and submit it and be done with it, by all means, you can do that. This is kind of, like it says here, this is an example slide. So the Battle of Mogadishu, also known as Black Hawk Down. There's movies based on this. It was actually a book. I mean, I just saw recently Netflix did a documentary on this. It's a pretty crazy event if you're not familiar with it. But, again, I gave a specific date here, October 3rd, 1993 to October 4th, 1993. So it's, like I said, if you have a specific date, use a specific date. And then you only need 2 bullets. I put 3 just because I'm an overachiever. But like it says here, battle between guerrilla insurgents and U.S. Special Forces. 18 U.S. service members were killed. This is later turned into a book and then a movie. So something along those lines. It doesn't have to be exactly like this, but, I got a title. I got a specific date. And I had at least 2 bullets explaining, summarizing the event. And you'll do that throughout your life. Now, I will promise you, as you guys work on this assignment, you will learn some things, believe it or not. You will learn some things because, when it comes to history, you guys have had US 1 already. You've learned US 2 this year, but you haven't learned anything about what's occurred during your life yet. And there have been a lot of things going on since you've been born, believe it or not. True story, one year the reason I came up with this assignment was I had a girl one year. I showed the We Didn't Start the Fire video, and at the end of the video, she raised her hand and she said, "Nothing's happened since since we've been alive," she said. And that kind of triggered me to think, like, there actually has been a lot of things that have happened since she's been alive, but she just didn't realize it because she's too young, right? Like when she's 2, 3, 4, 5, even, maybe even at 15, you're not really paying much attention to the news and you're not really sure what's going on. So there's a lot of things that happen that you don't even know about. So there will be some interesting findings while you work on this. And that brings us to the final slide, which is any questions? All right, and we'll leave it at that. Best of luck. Have fun.